this series. Riders still need another map out of the last two to be able to secure their position at the top of the group. If they end up losing the remainder of this, the assault map here, Hanamura, and then the final payload map, then they're going to have to go into a tiebreaker with Cloud9. So they need at least one map here. It's not like they can take the foot off the gas.
No. I mean, and this is what's really important about this one here as well, is that Movistar Riders, if they win this map, if they win 2 maps in this series, they avoid having to play up against Rogue straight out of the gate. That means that C9 has to play against Rogue, and Movistar Riders have an ostensibly easier matchup against either eUnited or against NIP. After the result of their game. So this is important for Movistar Riders if they want to pave their way forward with maybe a bit of a more comfortable, matchup until the finals. This is where they do it. Also means less games potentially have to be played for them.
This is interesting. I assumed that neptuNo would be running Sombra in the same way that he was when they were playing Temple of Anubis and Hollywood, but instead they're just going for the straight triple DPS dive, and for the moment Misfits been able to handle it. They've got the Ana on defense, not going for the Ana Zen as well, like we've seen quite a number of teams play on Hanamura, both on point A and B. For now, they've managed to repel the invaders.
The problem specifically with Hanamura, especially when you get to the second point, if you have the Sombra, the health packs aren't really something where it's as if you're a tank, you can take damage and kite towards. Whereas on Temple of Anubis, you just drop down and then you can jump back up.
And also, there's also a bit of risk. I mean, we do see someone on this map, and Meta Athena played it first. The intent was more to break the chokehold for Libero, for example, from Meta Athena. He wanted to obviously get a hack, ideally on the Reinhardt, but I think he went for the Zai because the Reinhardt was shielded at the time. It was less about the health pack location and getting early EMPs and more about just hacking through the doorway in the first place. So, I mean, Movistar Riders going to have a bit more mobility, at least, with that fact.
There's an Ana boost in. Zebbosai getting that one really early, disrupting Movistar Riders, who were just trying to get position around the back here. Oh, there, he's going to be able to jump, finish this one off. Oh, the pulse bomb? How did they manage to get Mineral and Zebbosai there? Logix absolutely on fire, and he's opened this one up.
That was in the back corner as well. That was on the other side of the map. Misfits actually split themselves up because Reinforce jumped in with the nano boost, but he left Zebbosai and Mineral over towards this side, over towards behind where TviQ is standing right now.
Where's Manneten in that situation, though? Is he not peeling for the back lines? Did he go in on the dive as well, perhaps?
Riders are going to regroup quicker here at 6.
Oh, they're
are so much quicker.
They just walk onto the point.
Yeah.
I mean, Misfits had to pull themselves off of those. They'd lose more players. Reinforce goes in. Where's the backup? TviQ, he's so far out of position. I guess he's trying to do with Finnsi right now, at least keep him busy enough.
They know that he's got the tactical visor. He's incredibly important there. Nevix popping it off as well around the point, just trying to zone for now. But that gives Finnsi all the time he needs to be able to come back in with these ultimates. Both support ults active as well for Riders.
Yeah, both Dragon Blades as well now. It's going to be Blade v Blade, but CWoosH so far is doing better because the Transcendence was present for Dante. He's making it impossible for TviQ to get any damage done. All he can try and do now is do some tricky flips around, maybe pull his fidget spinner out and make something happen with that. That's all, though. CWoosH gets 2 dashes through with a Swift Strike, and Misfits have got nothing to show for that fight.
In terms of the time that they managed to delay, 1 minute 30 for Movistar Riders, that's not too bad. They had a couple of fights that they ended up winning. They managed to delay that one out a little bit as well. They did invest a couple of ultimates there, both of their DPS ults, and they didn't force that much out of Movistar Riders, but I think it's unlikely they're going to be able to snowball, but the risk of it.
They forced enough out of Riders where you don't think they're going to snowball this instantly. Misfits will be pretty happy with that first point overall.
A minute 30 on the clock. So I guess they don't have nothing to show for it. I think that's maybe a little bit of a hyperbole, but that's fine. Logix now as well just playing towards the outside here again, getting the information. If he can pull a player out with him as well, that's just a super bonus, get someone off that high ground. But CWoosH has already started off the fight, so they picked Zebbosai off. That was without an ultimate, by the way, so he just got low, and CWoosH went in and was opportunistic. This shouldn't be happening for Misfits. They're actually getting picked apart. Now, it's fine to go man for man at this stage as well. It needs to be an all-out fight win for Movistar Riders. Probably better even if the Riders weren't investing ults in this after losing the first couple of players. They don't have enough presence on the point to actually take it back. But with Logix causing problems, there are 2 players on the point. Reinforce needs to get back.
That was dangerous for a while there. If Dante had stayed up and managed to get his Transcendence and they'd been able to disengage a little bit, they actually got a huge amount of picks from Misfits and demeched Manneten, and he was just running around as Baby Diva on the point. And Zebbosai's early pick meant that he couldn't use an Ana boost on anybody, not to keep them alive or anything. But now that they've stabilized, he does have a good target to use it on. Both of his DPS players have got their ults active. Both complement very well with the Nano boost. Let's see if they can get it in position. And I'm also interested to see whether they use it proactively or reactively here.
It wouldn't surprise me if they just nano TviQ can just go in ham early and just guarantee a fight with it. Might not be the most efficient way, but it's probably the safest.
Sometimes as well, if you go aggressive early and get such a strong fight lead early, you might not even force any ultimates out of the enemy team. But TviQ can go for the Dragon Blade here, so neptuNo's going to go down to 1/, now looking for more. Logix is going to have his face rearranged by that one, and TviQ now at least gets on the high ground. It was Misfits. They did take the proactive fight. They did win it out. And also a bit of history as well, for those wondering. We talk about Movistar Riders being so strong in the pit tournament. Misfits were the only team to actually beat Movistar Riders in the group stage of that tournament way back then, a month and a half ago, and it was a 2-0. Misfits actually didn't have a chance to play them again in that tournament because they lost to Dignitas 0-2. So that could have gone very differently if Misfits didn't mess up.
You know what? That's also super interesting because our next matchup of Nip eUnited is exactly the same. They only played in the group stages of Pit. Nip beat them there and didn't get a chance and got knocked out by Dignitas. It's almost exactly the same.
It's literally repeats of that Pit tournament. I love it. Some things come full circle here in Europe. That's what we like to see. Nevix, that's a very aggressive position. He's forced to drop down. You can see his health is being cut down because CWoosH is on his tail. He can't find him though. Zebbosai, beautiful stuff to pick him off. That was scope, didn't work, I'm sure of it. It wasn't a biotic grenade to get the kill. However, Movistar Riders have a greater presence on this point. Nevix is going to have to force out with that tactical visor. He's lost too many teammates. neptuNo somehow finds him from across the square. That's beautiful stuff. And the point's already 1 tick. That's concerning, very concerning for Misfits here.
And Movistar don't have enough to be able to get it up to 2, despite the fact they got it almost halfway there. 2.5 minutes left for them. Moving Dante over to the Ana here as well. Going for the nano boost, seeing if they can crack through this defense that's been up. He'll be able to get it before the end of the map. The issue for them is that Misfits are going to have one of their own. And so far they've been proactive in their use that might deny Dante even the ability to build it that well. Because they're not taking scrappy engagements in the fight, allowing Movistar to build their ultimates up.
Nano boost almost ready.
Got to appreciate a bit more of the support camera stuff today as well. We did hear you read it. It's nice to also see Zebbosai in action as well, one of my favorite Ana players. He doesn't quite connect that sleep dart though as well, and see Reinforcer going to respond. TviQ found Kolsti, so that dive didn't really work out at all for Movistar Riders. They're struggling a little bit here. Dragon Blade for TviQ goes on in, finds Finnsi. It's a sound barrier, but it's too late. That's going to be so frustrating if you're neptuNo. You need to keep Finnsi alive. He had an attack visor as well. He could have responded and made that costly for Misfits, but instead it's a wasted ultimate, and they can't even follow up on it.
It's been completely just thrown away there because Finnsi is your man. If you get him up on the high ground and you manage to force the fight to be around the point, he's the guy to watch because he's just going to be vomiting out damage onto everybody. Zebbosai and Mineral both with their ultimates. Only a minute left as well. So they go aggressive with a nano boost, holding that self-destruct as well into the back. I don't think it actually caught anybody, but the nano on to reinforce as well.
Okay, so a lot of ultimates used and actually not a lot happening as a result. TviQ went down, he switched to Widowmaker on defense. That's interesting stuff. I guess no Diva present here, and Kolsti's all he's got to worry about in terms of the dive. Maybe CWoosH as well, but they're on the point. Movistar Riders are set up here. They've got everyone alive. This is where it begins. This is where the stall starts. And TviQ very quickly had to switch off of that Tracer. It was Zebbosai actually stepping into the Widowmaker shoes. We know what he can do on that hero, but Reinforcer started the fight off well. He needs to finish it though. He got those 2 kills. Kolsti being forced back now as well. The pressure from Nevix is going to force him to take some cover and try and get healed up for the moment. It's almost 2/3. We're almost there, but Misfits now need to trickle in. It looks like they might be able to hold.
They're just going to be able to hold with 30 seconds left. I'm not sure even whether they're going to be able to force a last fight. Misfits have been excellent at picking Dante really early, denying him charge. He's playing Ana. It charges so quickly, and yet this is his first nano boost, and he's been on that hero for almost 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. This is what they needed, but they probably needed it about 30 seconds a minute ago, because now they're pretty rushed. Only 10 seconds left.
Yeah, this is going to come down to the last fight. Misfits have held admirably on this particular map. Movistar Riders have not been able to find their weak point, but now it's time to see if they can here. Sound barrier has been applied to Movistar Riders, and they come through. Dante right in the face. He sticks the biotic rifle up to TviQ's nose and gives it a squeeze. Logix finds Reinforce now on the point. There is a Diva at work. Manneten making life a little bit hard for CWoosH to try and connect these shurikens. He can't decide whether he wants to go for Manneten or the Lucio. He decides eventually on the former. Up on the point, up on high is Nevix with that tactical visor. CWoosH trying to prevent as much of that damage, and now he's getting a nano blade coming through.
Yeah, he's slashing, dashing onto Reinforce, see if he can pick up the Mei as well. Zebbosai makes sure that he stays alive, but they forced out the ice block really early, couldn't use it to delay as well. The cooldown going to be incredibly important. And Movistar Riders, they're dropping players. It looks like, despite an admirable effort, the Misfits stall is just going to be too much.
I love the modesty curtain that comes up there from the Mei as well. Zebbosai says, no, you can't see me like this. Gets his health back and manages to hold on. And I'm sorry, Christopher, we didn't get to chat too much during that game, but that's a bit of a big improvement for Misfits here on this map. If you think back, getting full held pretty much on Hollywood now to this, they seem to have found it a bit.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised Riders took them to Hanamura. I think Hanamura might even be Misfits' best map. They always talk about how much they love the assault maps, and I think at least from our experience, Hanamura seems to be their favorite, so I'm surprised they took it. I think Riders really got punished by, they would lose a member and then they would still look to commit ults to it. And whilst that's fine on any other game mode, when you're trying to capture the second point on Assault, you can't afford to do it. Like neptuNo's sound barrier at the end, they probably would have won the fight before if they just had that extra sound barrier, but...
Was that fight that Finnsi got picked off really early on the 76?
If he just kept it and then the next push, if they had that, I think they would have capped it, so... It's a game of inches.
It's not, and you don't always see this as well on some of these assault maps where a team can actually get a push and get 1/3 already sort of locked in. A lot of the time, they're sort of, you know, defensive teams are really unwilling to give over even a small sliver of it. And most of the time, if there's any capture progress to actually be made, it's normally the whole thing. You know, teams sort of save up for that one big fight to try and blow it out of the water. So yeah, Movistar Riders, we've actually seen now over the last couple of maps, some ultimate management errors are creeping in, or at least they're becoming a little bit more apparent than they were for us yesterday.
It's all about discipline on Assault, and Riders have a system where if you want to use your ult, there's no like significant
there's no chain of command to follow. You don't have to file a request a few weeks before.
Complete faith in every single player. If you think it's the right time to use your ult, you use it. But then on Assault, you can get punished.
Same thing we say about Rogue. Like, Rogue get criticized for their ult management. It's because they use it at their own volition. It's something you see in teams that like to dive, Sideshow.
Yeah, very similar styles between those two as well. And it doesn't work out for you as well when you play Assault. You have to modify your style. That's why Misfits enjoy it. They're a very cerebral team. They love their strategy, their crafted compositions. Going to be running with a 2-2-2 dive comp here, but Zebbosai on the Ana. It's neptuNo, though. The guy to watch, he's been put to sleep immediately, debuffed as well, but they couldn't quite find the kill.
He wanted to hack that Mega. He was being very cheeky like that. That would have made it super hard for Misfits to actually establish a forward outpost in front of the gate if that Mega wasn't there. So the idea was good, but maybe a little bit overconfident, Christopher?
Yeah, I would say so. The ability to hack the health back, it's like you say, any chip damage just takes that extra 5 seconds to heal up because you can't physically go and take the health back.
Now we actually have Misfits starting up for fight, though. It's worked quite well. They've actually managed to follow up this dive really nicely. Logix has been forced back off the point and really wasn't a factor in the fight at all. TviQ finding those 2 important kills at the end. Clean as a whistle from Misfits.
Very nice set execution. They knew exactly where Movistar were going to be, shut down the Sombra quite early on so that they couldn't generate as much of that EMP. neptuNo's still going to have it for B, but it's also a little more difficult on Hanamura than the other Assault maps, I feel, because the sight lines are often spread out. It's a very large last point. The EMP radius doesn't quite cover everywhere, and the defense is normally pretty split up.
Oh, God, you can't let this happen. TviQ almost got that pick off on Dante. That would have been a little bit too much. It's almost like he didn't expect him to be there. But still, Dante survives. TviQ unable to complete that kill. A bit frustrating for him, I'm sure, but the EMP comes now in for neptuNo. That's going to help Movistar Riders through this fight. It's like a helping hand as they go through. That health pack was hacked, and that's probably the only reason why Kolsti able to survive. He's so low. He eventually does get picked off. TviQ running right over this point now. He's down to 13, recalls up to 90. Now he needs to get into the back line, and so far, he wants to back out.
How good is the Movistar stall as well? They really don't have to get that much time on the point, Misfits. So the pressure is onto them. They used a lot of ultimates to take that one, and they're now switching over to the Ana Zen. neptuNo not going for the Sombra, not as good in this point in general.
I think the biggest factor, the reason he's wanting to swap is because Zebbosai is playing Ana and not Zen. If you have a Zen, it makes the Sombra value go immensely. Just the ability to EMP and one-shot like that, you almost always can get value out of it.
Even if Kolsti's dived in as well on that, it's just like you hold mouse 1 for 1 second and it's very, very straightforward. What was the trigger for TviQ to pull out of that fight? I'll get back to that, actually. We've got a fight here. I'll talk about it later. But Dragonblade coming out for CWoosH here, and needs to try and match Nevix, but Nevix has already paved the way forward. neptuNo has fallen. No more Zenyatta healing available, and Logix also went down. Really nice from Nevix, and this has been a quieter map for CWoosH in general. Hasn't managed to get much done on that Genji. In fact, it was really only Nepal where we've seen him shine in this series in general. Kolsti back on the point, though, really trying to assert his dominance here, and with the help of the diva of Finnsi, he's able to cut down Reinforce fairly quickly and force Misfits back again. Movistar Riders can't actually afford to move off this point and try and re-engage halfway through a fight, because Misfits only need 2/3 to win the map.
Misfits looked like they invested in that fight and really thought that they could take it. They used the Nanoblade into it, and now they're making the switch over. So they had a plan, it didn't work, and now I think they're trying something different. They're going to have a number of set executes. They're a team that's kind of planned this out, as you were saying. Like Hanamura, they like assault maps. They're going to have different set strategies they approach this with and keep testing, keep prodding Movistars, looking for weaknesses.
That's one right there. Dante had very little protection and no peel. Guess why? Because there's no Lucio on the side of Movistar Riders. neptuNo wasn't even there with him. He died elsewhere. TviQ found him. So both supports very vulnerable on the side of Movistar. And Misfits are more than happy to try and, I guess, make the most of that particular hole in their defenses. Manneten on Soldier 76. Why not? Heroes for everyone. And it's going to work out. The attack visor, of course, is there for him. He needs to back up a little bit here with the rest of Misfits to make sure they're all ready to go for this second push. They're coming in waves. They're just trying to come back and forth here. They've almost got the capture down. 52%. Movistar Riders have to go now. It's going to be impossible to stall this out for such a long period of time when it's such a small margin to cover. Finnsi gets discorded straight away and the Dragon Blade's going to come out here for Nevix. It's going to be Misfits to win the map. They've won 2 in this series. They may already be out of this. Get them for a bit of an interview here, but they're going to have to win for that to happen first. And now we're going to be heading into Route 66. The final map of this series, and of course Misfits will already need to wave goodbye to, so this is our last chance I'll see them on this LAN. Let's hope they deliver on defense to start.
And this is actually really important for Movistar Riders as well. They have to win this to be able to secure first seed in their group. And first seed in Group B is really important because that means you dodge Rogue in the upper bracket. And nobody wants to be facing Rogue in the upper bracket.
You're damn right. They're looking pretty darn strong. Even though they have their weaknesses, we can sort of get onto that later on. Goodbye to Grenade there as well. That was required from Zebbosai to keep his tanks nice and healthy. And despite the fact Movistar Riders are still making these ends meet, Mineral went down and Reinforce, who was the recipient of that by a grenade, was quite healthy. Got burst down straight away yet again. Finnsi finds Zebbosai. You can see Misfits are forced to pile on here. They want to actually probably die fairly early now so they can actually come back for another contest.
Yeah, it was really smart by Riders to identify what the Diva's doing. They basically said, if we can force the Diva to protect their back line, then we can destroy the front line. If the Divas are not on their front line, let's go their back line. Wherever the Diva isn't, that's where we're going to push. And that's why it worked for them.
They've got another opportunity to contest though. Misfits taking an aggressive look at that. Oh, Pulse Bomb eaten though. Manneten heads up awareness. Gonna be able to take that ultimate out of play. Finnsi's got one of his own though. If he can manage to get control of the high ground and find some distraction away from Manneten, this ult could be very impactful.
I want to see Manneten focus now. Finnsi should communicate the fact that he has his attack visor here. Yeah, I mean, g'day, there's a Diva right in your face. Like, what's that about? CWoosH they finds 2. That's just getting really messy now. CWoosH actually finds Nevix after that, so he doing most of the damage. Maybe the attack visor from Finnsi was just a distraction because CWoosH was in the backline to get 4 kills, and Logix also chipping in for a huge fight win.
Made them look both ways, again, distracting the Diva, making sure that they have an attack in the back and an attack in the front.
Do you actually think this is worth it? Do you actually think that committing that attack visor to force the Diva to come to you is that really something you could say that you did on purpose?
I'd be very surprised if that was the case. Because even the Diva Matrix doesn't really do anything against Blade anyway. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, regardless, Manneten was out of position there, so... well, he was in position, but out of position to protect his backline. That's kind of the main thing. Reinforced recipient of the Anubis in this case are up on the payload. And Movistar go for a staggered sound barrier here. So that's just timing out now. They've managed to get through all of their damage, and now the Transcendence comes out. So again, they really fancy winning this fight. That's a huge investment. Transcendence to come out after it. If they lose this one here, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, Biotic Grenade came in, made sure that Logix was really weak, couldn't get the healing from the Transcendence, and they managed to pick up both of these kills. Reinforce investing his ultimate as well, but it is going well for Misfits. This forwards defense at the archway, they found a choke that works superbly for them. The spawn advantage is in favor of Riders. It's not like you're going to be able to lock the team out, but certainly taking a lot of time off the clock.
Yeah, Misfits just forced them to stay in there, and Zebbosai just launched a nade into it and then basically won the fight purely off that.
He gets so much stall off this as well. You can see what Mineral's doing. Like, he's just sat up on the payload. He probably admits that he's going to have to come down to a 3rd stage, but any second he can buy. That might have been an overextension though as well. He didn't really have much protection, and CWoosH found his way into the back line as a result. Nevix is down, and you can see that Manneten's trying to chase. He now comes back to the fight. A pulse bomb gets dropped on him, takes him low, and then D-suit now has occurred. He's going to fall, and Movistar Riders are going to be able to get an advantage here. Was that an overextension, do you feel like, from where Mineral was standing, or was that just going to happen?
So the concept the Warrior's trying to do is he's basically, again, just trying to force all of Riders to be on cart and allowing the Ana to free fire, but he was so close that Riders just killed him, and then Zebo could do nothing in that small window he bought him.
So he's a very important part of the composition for Misfits on this part of the map, isn't he?
Yeah, no doubt.
Couple of switches. Finnsi moving over to this area gives them the opportunity to bubble people and get it deeper into the back lines. Manneten going on to the Genji as well.
Yeah, okay. But, you know, we've talked about that already, but Misfits clearly have something in mind. Let's see if it works out. Again, Reinforce is the one that really put their eggs in the basket of there. He comes forward with the nano boost, but it's actually Nevix that found neptuNo. So again, a few ultimates are being committed here by Misfits. They need to try to stop this train, but Dante will not be stopped. He found both flanking DPSs. That is incredible value for a Zenyatta. TviQ went down, and so did Manneten on their Genji. That's just filthy. Kolsti now as well going to juggle This old lady, come on now, the bones are brittle. That's not even fair. She's probably not even had a calcium this morning. Kolsti going to be getting rid of Zebbosai, and Logix dealt with Nevix pretty comfortably.
This is the power of just having massive playmakers on your team, isn't it? And Manneten tries to put pressure on him, and Dante just takes him out with the orbs. And then again, does the exact same to TviQ. And these are world-class players that he's dismissing with his Zenyatta play.
That's so filthy as well. That's the spearhead of Misfits, just getting completely bent and broken by one player.
Finnsi has swapped off before he used the Graviton as well. Moving back to the triple DPS, choosing to switch off the Zarya for this final portion of the attack.
It's really interesting, actually. I mean, we'll have to see if this kind of works out, because TviQ just kind of came forward and shut him down pretty comfortably. Perhaps the Zarya as well was more so because Manneten was playing that Diva. Maybe he sees that Manneten switches to Zarya and then says, stuff it, I'm going to change. What do you think, Chris?
You can get baited a lot of the time if you have a big ultimate like that, but you don't think it's the optimal comp, and you're just like, oh, we'll stick on it, and then the fight doesn't go well and you don't quite get it off, and next thing you know, you've wasted a minute and a half just trying to get this grab off just for the sake of it. So it's definitely safer just to swap, even if it means ruining ultimate economy a little bit.
So it's not being too precious about that. Yeah, we actually saw this when the game was first released. Actually, a lot of mistakes were made on that basis alone. Not so much anymore, though. Sound Barrier Dragon Blade from Movistar Riders. Logix finds Nevix, and it's going to be TviQ to fall to a Helix Rocket. Reinforced again. From what I can see, he was trying to get his own dive going on, but he looks to be alone for the most part. No, he's got two supports with him. Another one's finding the kills. Mineral popping off. Zebbosai is there to do the damage. This is a big extension for Misfits, but they've at least bought themselves some time.
They're playing super aggressively the whole way through Route 66 with their defense, but they're being able to bleed a lot of time off. 2 minutes to get through the warehouse is not great. I would expect them to move to a Reinhardt-centric composition at some point, though, especially as it gets further towards the end. Movistar have got a couple of ultimates. If they don't move to something with a bit more stability, Misfits are risking getting wiped here.
Yeah, that's right. This aggression, the double-edged sword, might be the one that turns around and slices them on the thigh. It's going to be the Dante Transcendence coming into the fight. In fact, both Zenyatas have used those here. There's no Anna's present, so there's no way of mitigating those healings. That has to just be waited out, and it is. TviQ waits it out, then finds Dante. As soon as he pops out of that Transcendence form, you can see that Finnsi and Nevix are really trying to contribute in these fights respectively, but Finnsi has attack visor available. Manneten has switched back over towards that Diva, though, so he needs to be cognizant of that. He can't just let them go willy-nilly, especially not without decent positioning, and Movistar Riders are forced to back up again.
And that's good play from Misfits as well. They look like they've finally found their form. This is intelligent play from them. They're not wasting their ultimates. They're getting value out of it. They're forcing them from Movistar Riders as well. Transcendence into an insta-pick from Dante means that his DPSs can't commit to it either, because they just know that they don't have the backup in terms of their support line. They're resetting now, but both Finnsi and CWoosH with ultimates, they're going to be the playmakers, potentially only when the sound barrier is online, though.
Yeah, that's right. Also, they want to try and force some ultimates out. That was an early sound barrier, though, there as well. Logix pulse bomb, so that might have been the impetus for that decision. And so far, it's worked out quite well. Again, CWoosH goes down super early in the fight. Note that he probably didn't even want to use that Dragon Blade at this point, trying to get rid of those ultimates. So Mineral gets rid of his. The only issue is that Zebo is close to his Transcendence. So those ultimates, the support ultimates for Misfits, are just staggered enough to give them an extra fight.
Zebo and Dante use their ults at the exact same time, but Zebo's managed to generate 70% more in that same period of time.
I think we just saw why. That's so filthy.
That's a really nice play as well, knocking them completely off tempo. Logix has moved over to the Zarya as well. Almost never see him on Zarya. 20 seconds left as well.
Yeah, there's not going to be enough time for Movistar Riders to set up properly, let alone even get this payload across the line at this stage. 10 seconds remain. Now, it's going to have to potentially be Indian file for Movistar to come forward. CWoosH pretty much needs the Dragon Blade at the gates. He's got no other choice. He needs to break through. It's going to have to be a sound barrier, Dragon Blade. They must go now. Reinforce as well, getting a bit of damage early on in this fight. The Transcendence coming in for Misfits, though. Zebbosai, he earned that one. He did so much damage to keep his team alive. But Manneten got desuited really early in the fight. This opens things up a little bit more for Finnsi's tack visor, but he's not found much with it at all. In fact, nothing.
Absolutely nothing here, and there's only 3 players left alive from Movistar Riders. They're getting crushed by Misfits. Zebbosai's ultimate absolutely pivotal in the middle of that fight. Even when Manneten was demeched, they managed to get all the healing that mitigated CWoosH's ultimate. And Finnsi as well got nothing from that. Just playing it straight into the reflect as well.
Yeah, and Finnsi's like, oh, but the Diva's dead, but then forgets the fact that there's still a Transcendence present in the fight, but you have no other choice to try and go for the attack and hope that someone's outside of the radius.
The timing's so short for them as well. Misfits played that aggressively, knocked them off tempo every time. They found it difficult to establish any position. Misfits have actually set themselves up with a great opportunity of winning Route 66 and forcing us to a tiebreaker between Riders and Cloud9.
I actually really just want to see Reddit after this now. Just see them in this state of quantum indecision. It's like, Misfits, no, they're bad. They're fell out of the group, but they mean Movistar Riders, but they're good.
Yeah.
What?
It's highly possible that Misfits are going to go out of the group in 4th, having beaten the first place team. and nobody else.
Going into it, we identified this was going to be close, but first and second is going to be tie broke, and then third and fourth are also going to be even on points, but we have the
win the head-to-head. Yeah.
So
crazy
there's
parity.
going to be like, what, 2 points between every single person in the group?
Yeah, I mean, and we still need to see the potential tiebreaker game being played out. So that's going to be interesting in and of itself. It's going to be more games. But boy, even outside of that fact, the fact that between these two groups like this, it's so tight in this one makes me happy. It also makes me wonder as well, just what could have been as well if ex-Cyclowns had come in at full strength. We could have seen a similar situation in that group as well.
That is absolutely true. Yeah, that was a phenomenal team coming into it, and unfortunate circumstances have hit them. In terms of this map, though, Movistar Riders, their offense wasn't great. You would hope to be able to make it through the warehouse, maybe even not complete it, but at least get it to the final area. They didn't get that much distance. 54.96 meters is where they have to get it. Having said that, though, their defense is more aggressive, more clean than Misfits. Misfits have generally struggled with being able to execute, particularly on the attack. So Movistar could certainly hold them, maybe even around the first or second checkpoint.
And it's going to be SWOOSH starting off on their DV here as well. That's probably the biggest change we can note here for Movistar.
We're going for the 2-2-2 peel composition. Dante as well on the Ana. Normally seen on the Zen, so making sure that his tanks have a lot of healing. With SWOOSH peeling for the back line. Kolsti taking a lot of damage, but Dante's just going to be building up that nano boost incredibly fast. Here we go as well for Misfits. They've got an opportunity to engage. As soon as they deplete resources and health from the tanks, they can choose an opportunity. But it's been this killer instinct that's been lacking from them. And there goes the nano boost super early on.
Kolsti wants to go in. 2 very quick kills. They just completely popped, disintegrated underneath the Tesla gun. And now Manneten as well is going to have to force himself off there as well. It's almost like Movistar Riders sort of jockeyed around it. All of a sudden, they flicked a switch and they went in.
But the only problem is Movistar Riders have let the cart move for so long that Misfits only need one fight and they're going to cap the entire point. Normally, you're going to see teams contesting the payload far earlier so that even if you die, you get another shot at it.
You get at least 2 fights, right?
But they've let it push so far, that's probably not going to be the case.
It's less than ideal here. They're going to have to really stamp their foot on this one and try and stop Misfits moving any further. Finnsi not really in position right now. You can actually see that he's just sort of forced to play around the fringes to try and stay safe. But Logix goes in and finds Mineral. This might actually relieve a lot of the pressure on Movistar Riders in this fight. TviQ needs to sort of reciprocate. He might have to be impulsive from to try and get the kill. No, he had some help. That's fortunate enough. But Zebbosai fell down, so supports are still being traded out here. Reinforcers trying to look now for neptuNo, but the sound barrier is going to make it hard.
Yeah, very late sound barrier coming out from neptuNo. Super reactive, keeps everybody alive though, and that sets up Finnsi for the tactical visor. Takes down both of the tanks and Nevix, and they have wiped Misfits essentially. Only the supports left alive. And for this next fight, both of those guys have ultimates on Zebbosai and Mineral, but still super tough.
This is huge though in the grand scheme of things. That second fight win, I mean, this is essentially unprecedented. You don't see this from teams that don't full hold this point, ultimately, right? Usually it's like 1 fight, maybe 2, but you lose them both on defense. That's accepted. Absolutely. That's just what people know.
Misfits engaging with the sound barrier once again, using that really proactively rather. Zebbosai still has one in the bag, available to use whenever, but a tickle of pressure from Logix and he pops it off.
Jeez, it didn't take much really, did it? Movistar Riders are down 2 players though, so it might just allow Misfits just to be more robust in cleaning out. But Kolsti's still up above here as well. He can get a lot of damage done. The Dragon Blade coming out from Nevix now as well. Kolsti's just going to try and get airborne and get a better read on the situation. Avoid as well the almost certain death that he'd be encountering, and Nevix doesn't get much done for that. neptuNo goes down. This is really good in terms of stall, because Nevix wants to try and wipe them away with that Dragon Blade. He couldn't.
They've used both the portals and the Dragon Blade to be able to take that. Only the tank ultimates available. Movistar have also got a huge amount of time off the clock. They're setting themselves up for a good defense here, but they still have to execute it in this portion.
Yeah, it was a really good first roll for Riders. They'll be happy with it. They've still got a decent chance of winning this map now.
Maybe a slight hyperbole discussing the first 2 fights that Movistar were able to hold there, but it's just quite rare to see that even happen. So that's also a good sign here. It means that they can continue to shave minutes off of this clock, which is super important for this map, especially when Misfits don't even have to finish the map. So self-destruct there, I think, where was that off screen? Yeah.
Real aggression coming out from Misfits as well, piling on the pressure, not allowing Movistar Riders to get out of the choke point without taking a huge amount of damage. Dante pressured down almost immediately, and still on the Ana as well, trying to use this. neptuNo investing the sound barrier just to try and delay with the rest of his team not quite there, and Manneten picking up a couple of kills, playing the diva well.
Again, you have to wonder about the wisdom of that move from neptuNo to bring out the sound barrier at that stage. It's not because they lost the fight. That's not really got anything to do with it. But there wasn't a lot to support the sound barrier. It was more kind of like, well, yeah, we're going to try and dry fight with shields.
Yeah, and they didn't have the backup from Dante either. I think CWoosH wasn't in the fight. He's made the switch over to Genji as well at the beginning of the second stage, so the D.Va was only for the first portion. But this fight here is where the defenders have a big spawn advantage.
And Nevix almost has the Dragon Blade as well. So something to keep in mind here. He's definitely been able to get something done with it. Nevix used to be such a, I guess, a freakish player on this Genji, but he's not being allowed to be that same player at this event. Something worth noting, I'm sure. He does find Finnsi, but goes down. Dante connects him with a bionic grenade. It's a 2-for-2 fight thus far. TviQ is ranged far and wide here. You can see just to pressure Logix. He's not really trying to kill him per se, but he wants to try and keep his Zenyatta Zebbosai alive. Nice pulse bomb, that's big. Dante goes down, but Logix found Zebbosai in the end. So despite TviQ's best efforts, he still lost his Zenyatta. They trade supports out. Movistar Riders still have a presence here on this point, albeit a smaller one, but Logix has now made this much harder with the pulse bomb on Mineral. Now neptuNo, TviQ was too busy trying to make things happen for his team, but he wasn't able to protect his backline. This is going to get a heck of a lot harder here, and there's a minute 40 left on the clock.
They've got the nano boost at any point to be able to use here from Dante. They use it onto Kolsti as well. Massive amounts of block damage, and both tanks traded.
Yeah, that pulse bomb from Logix might have just won them this game. It's really, really clutch. It's all about now this nano blade, how they can use it. If they can afford to win a fight without using it, the Zebbosai ult, what they really want to do is try and bait the Zen out ult and then go. But it's difficult.
We'll have to see here. I mean, the problem for Misfits is they can't afford to trade. The spawn advantage favours Movistar Riders quite heavily with the payload at this point. It's kind of like just outside of the Goldster Studios on Hollywood. That's the kind of same feel this area has. So Misfits are trying to outmaneuver. CWoosH is going to go in though. So they baited out the Transcendence here, and he did it inside. There was no way that Zebbosai could get healing to his teammates outside of the building. He had to leave it. So they'd lacked that one in that part, and that's why CWoosH was able at least to get that one pick off there, but it was just the one. Finnsi finds Zebbosai ultimately after that ultimate is done. This might be okay. And
Misfits doing a great job there. They actually picked neptuNo when he was on 99%, wasn't able to keep the rest of his team alive with that sound barrier. Pulse bomb not quite connecting there from TviQ, but in general, Misfits pulling it together when it matters. Here comes the sound barrier though, the block. They haven't been able to complete the checkpoint yet. It was 0.98 meters. Now they get it through the door into the warehouse portion. Movistar Riders, but they're back up against the wall here. 1 minute 48 is more than enough time to be able to push it.
Tell us about that fight there as well. That could have gone a lot better for Movistar.
CWoosH failed his dash. They animated the D.Va, which means that he could have just killed her, but he failed his dash. Just basically headbutted the wall and then got nothing with it. So if he aimed slightly up, then...
So it's like a slight mechanical error actually costing potentially Movistar Riders, excuse me, the game. Yeah, there's a big opportunity because the Transcendence was happening inside, but now Finnsi, again, tack visor over the top. He knows where Manneten is. He's keeping tabs on him, but Zebbosai sends one down from down range, and it's going to clean Finnsi up during that ultimate here. Movistar Riders need to compose themselves. They've got to keep it together. Misfits are so close to finishing this map.
They didn't play super aggressively with their defense in the same way that Misfits have, and now they're in real dire straits. There's the gold checkered box. It really isn't that far away. CWoosH in the backline as well. He gets a single pick, but focused down immediately. Movistar just throwing players in one by one as much as they can.
Oh, he's got to hope that's enough, but it may well not be. Kolsti on the Reinhardt now, making a switch across, but he's being harassed from the back from TviQ. It's going to be so hard for Kolsti to stay here at all. He gets moved back and actually kind of helped him in a small way, but Manneten was still able to finish the kill. The payload is still being contested right now. There's 40 seconds left. This is very good for Misfits. They managed to clear through. There's still players on that payload behind TviQ, but he's got to worry about the reinforcements. He's trying to shut them down. And of course, the Transcendence being used from Movistar Riders to try and keep them topped up. neptuNo playing now on that Zenyatta. Pulse bomb, spectral delivery. Oh, Kolsti took it straight to Logix. He brought the pulse bomb into the rest of his team. You can't stop the charge while you're in mid-dash. There's nothing you can do about Reinhardt. Kolsti took his own teammates down. And Misfits won the series and have plunged this group into a very interesting situation. That's their parting gift. That's